Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I bring you to all things paranormal with Paul Dale Roberts. Greetings, Paul.
Greetings, Hercules. It's going to be a good show tonight because we're going to get some interesting stories, some true paranormal stories that either happen to you or to somebody else. And, you know, when you have spooky stories that you tell, usually you're sitting around a campfire. So think of an imaginary campfire, and we got Steve Ward who brought some marshmallows. So we're roasting them. We're getting things going. I'm going to have Tim do a beer run. Hopefully, we can get some Heineken, Samuel Adams, Guinness, and Modelo, if you don't mind, Tim. And we'll wait for you. Uh, Michael's setting up the air mattresses. Sue, you need to go ahead. There's 4 tents. You need to go ahead and get those tents set up. Okay. I'll be checking on you. Hercules, bring your pot, pan, and sharp knife, plates, mugs, and can opener. Those are very important items that we need for this camp. So, as Tim goes out for the beer run, we'll start with the stories.
But I just want to say one thing. I'm not partial to marshmallows, so you'll have plenty of those. But I eat the chocolate bars and the graham crackers.
Oh, okay.
I know it saves time too. I don't have to put them over the fire.
Okay. Well, Sue, 25 miles down the road, there's a little market there. Could you get some chocolates for Steve?
Hershey.
I guess not. All right. Well, anyway, we will go ahead and start off. I I have some stories, but I'm going to hold off on mine because I rather hear yours and make sure I get everybody. So we'll start off with Hercules.
Thank you very much. I couldn't think of a spooky story or a scary story, but I've encountered spooky things and scary things. So I guess I'll share one of those stories.
Okay.
I'm a haunted individual, so it's not so much the places that I visit that are haunted. It's I'm very attuned to ghosts, human ghosts, animal ghosts, ghosts that don't appear remotely human, and I could pretty much tune into them and interact with them. So one of the strangest things I've interacted with, and I don't understand it, I haven't really run into references of it, but it's very Lovecraftian in its appearance. It looks like darkness with tendrils. So imagine an octopus, I guess, made of darkness, and the tendrils are smoky. And there was a movie that captured the effect perfectly, but I don't remember what it was called right now. And I've experimented with interacting with them. I put my finger in where they're materializing. Other people who are sensitive have also seen these things. So I've met people who've actually seen them and would compare notes. Nobody knows what they are, but they're made of shadow. They come usually when you're sleeping or when people are unconscious. And if you become aware of them, they'll tell you, don't worry, go back to bed. Not in words, but that's a feeling that comes up. So you'll go, oh, okay, and go back to sleep. There are a lot of ghosts and spirits that will do that, and including some that fall into the category of UFO aliens. These beings observe us. They seem to feed off of us in some strange way. It doesn't involve transfer of energy, so you don't feel weaker or more addle-brained or anything when they're gathering whatever energies they gather. And they're herd animals more than intelligences, and they seem to be friendly if you don't upset them. Some things will get upset if you walk into their circle of cold or the circle of fear that they cast. If you start walking into that and disrupting it, you're forward. These things just stay there and do what they're doing. Again, I don't know if that's spooky or scary, but it's unusual and it's very strange because I haven't run into an explanation. Since we have here at our campfire many adventures and explorers, did anybody run into anything like that? And if so, anything you could add to my description?
It sounds like Cthulhu.
Yes, it does. Lovecraft, very Lovecraftian.
I was thinking about that when you were mentioning it, because Cthulhu is supposed to be somewhere between an octopus and some kind of a demon. If H.P. Lovecraft has anything to say about it anyway. So maybe that's what you're contacting. It's one of the quote unquote old gods.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't want to let one of the great old ones through to hang out because
No.
everything will change.
yeah. They don't seem to do anything other than like hang out and put tendrils into our heads.
Oh,
Again, there's no loss of energy, there's no loss of memory, there's no loss of anything, and they're very reassuring. If you become aware of them and you start getting disturbed, they'll tell you to just go back to bed or go back to sleep. And okay, you don't tend to question it. Aliens and other spiritual intelligences do that as well.
See,
Have you?
that's some fascinating information. I mean, Michael Waterman had some comments on it, and Steve Ward, and it's something that I'm really not too familiar with. So this is a nice learning process that we're all getting here.
Have you noticed them other places besides, like when you were sleeping or going to sleep?
That's when I meditate like 2 or 3 times a day. So one of the times I meditate is when I go to bed. So if I'm not tired and like go to sleep after I've meditated, I sit there like awake and aware. We have I shared the story of my ghost cat with you guys?
yes.
Yeah, I'll bring that up again just to give an example. We had one lived in Pennsylvania, a ghost cat. It was a Siamese cat, blue point, with short hair, and you could you could hear it, you could see it, you could feel it, but it wasn't a living cat. We had living cats, but this was not one of them. And it used to make itself visible even when the company was coming up for the weekend. They'd ask, whose Siamese is that? Or where's the Siamese cat? So one of our cats had kittens, and the ghost cat went into one of the kittens. So I would call Ghost, because they called it Ghost, and that kitten, before it learned to walk, before it learned to do anything, would come to my voice when I called it by the same name I called it when it was a cat. And it never behaved like a kitten. It just was what it was. And you could hear it crunching imaginary food or ghost food, I guess. You could feel it jumping on the bed and walking on the bed and looking at you. It was a very visible ghost. And as I've shared before, I know that many things can shift shape according to our expectations. So just because it looks like a cat doesn't mean it is a cat. It took me a year and a half of interacting with them before I decided, yeah, it's a cat. And we still have this cat. It's still alive. It's like 20 years old now. So we currently have another ghost cat in the park. This one's very thin. It's a black cat, and it has longish hair, but not as long as a Persian. Very thin, and it runs around mostly at night. I can see it. So this is something that I've seen with the tendrils, not just in my home or in one of my homes, but in other places as well. And other people who've seen them too, they couldn't describe what they were either. It's just that they have tendrils like octopuses, and they don't seem to really harm you in any way. And they seem more animal than intelligence, but they have enough intelligence to ease you back into sleep. So you let them do whatever it is that they're doing.
I've had dogs all my life, and when my dogs get to that age and they pass on, a few of them have actually returned where I actually saw them, or I saw them with my peripheral vision, and in my head I could think of T-Rex, Hype, Hannah, and I can think of a story. All four of those dogs, and I had other dogs that didn't show up, but those four dogs, I've actually seen them.
I like the names you gave the dog. I'm glad the kid visited you.
Yeah. Yeah. Dogs and cats, all living things have souls. I truly
Absolutely.
believe that. Yes.
And sometimes inanimate objects do too.
Yes,
Oh
it-
yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you never know when something interesting might just show up. Greetings, fright pans.
yeah,
I,
they have Ecuadors and Tupas.
I had to break. He had to come because it's a spooky night. Tonight is also Lugnasad, Lammas Tide. It's Lammas Eve. For those of us of the pagan persuasion, this is a very sacred. It's the first harvest ritual, and it's very wonderful. This is a special night for me to tell everybody. This was the night I became a high priest. So this is a very special night to me, and I love that I'm celebrating it with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next person, and I shall. How about a legend? How about Tim Shorts?
How about Tip Shore? Oh, you mean me? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and Tim, did you finish bringing the beer? Did you go? On
Yes,
your
I
break?
have. I have the beer, yeah, definitely,
Okay.
and I bought some Dos Equis as well. So yeah,
Oh, right on. Right on.
that's
Okay,
right.
cool. All right, Tim.
All right. Well, I've got a story that I've written about this once. It's and I haven't talked about this a lot because it's kind of a disturbing story and sad at the same time. But this happened a number of years ago when I was uh, a young man, and one of the television stations that I worked at the time, one of my jobs was to run those live trucks or the live vans that have the microwave dishes on top of them, and you take the reporter to a location, and then they do the live stand up for whatever's the big story of the evening, and with the truck usually came an engineer. That was somebody who made sure that all of that fancy equipment was working properly and wouldn't break down in the middle of a live shot. Um, One of these engineers knew of my interest in the paranormal and asked me if I could possibly help him and his girlfriend. And this was a situation where she had, when she was in college, and she hadn't been out for too long. She'd been out about a year and had a job and had her own apartment. But when she was in college, her and some friends had gotten the Ouija board out and were playing with the Ouija board. And eventually, it started moving and directing its attention on her, claiming to be the spirit of a former lover who they had been together in a previous life, and that she had reincarnated into this life, but he hadn't. He was still a spirit. And from that time on, she became intrigued and persisted with the communication with this spirit. And it got to the point where she was able to move the Ouija board herself to get the communications. And then after a while, she was actually hearing it talking to her. Nobody else did, but she said that she could hear it talking in her ear, and they would have conversations that way. So she also said that it was moving things around in her apartment. So her boyfriend and I, and he was really loath to get involved in this because he was a Christian and a very I don't know, like maybe
Devout.
evangelical type of Christian. So he had no idea how to handle something like this, and I have to admit I didn't either. But I was game to go with him to her apartment and just see what was going on. And she, after a while, she did admit that this thing had appeared to her several times, and she made a drawing for me, and it looked to me like what you would think of as like a traditional Dracula or vampire type entity would look like. A whitish skin, long black hair thrown back, a big overly wide mouth with teeth. Well, when we were in her apartment, nothing was going on, and she went to bed, and she hadn't been in her room for too long before we started hearing all kinds of strange noises in this apartment. It sounded like somebody would kind of started with like light knocks and raps on the walls, and then the sound of somebody walking along the wall and that maybe dragging their fingers along the wall, except that it was happening on multiple areas, and it would build to like a crescendo and then wane down, kind of vanish. With this came sounds of people talking and moaning, and she had her, it was a small apartment, she had her bedroom door partially open and she was in bed asleep, but we saw that she was moving on her bed like she was making love to somebody. That's what it looked like. She had the covers on her, but you could not miss those movements. Right. And she was making the appropriate types of noises that seemed to be amplified a lot louder than they should have been, along with the other types of noises that were going on in the house, in the apartment at the time. And that was it for that night. She later again admitted to me that her spirit lover would appear to her and bite her at various locations, even though it never left any marks. But at the time, she seemed to not be doing well health-wise. And the unfortunate thing is that shortly after, I got another job in another city and moved away and kind of lost touch. I did find out about a year later from a mutual friend that about 6 months after I had left, she passed away from I can't think
anemia.
Anemia was part of it, but it was I'm sorry, now it's just completely left my head. What is the sickness where a person thinks that they're too fat and just stops eating and fades away?
Anorexia nervosa.
Anorexia. She passed away from anorexia.
Wow.
All right. And to this day, this is one of the, like I said, this is one of these stories that I feel really bad about, because you kind of have a helpless feeling when you're dealing with a situation like this, because unlike what you see in the movies, and I have to admit, I was young and not as experienced with things like that as I am now. But again, it's a situation. Unlike the movies, you can't just go and burn sage and throw salt on it and expect everything to end up all hunky dory. Because it doesn't work like that. It doesn't happen like that. There are a lot of cases that end very similar to this one. And that's why I always tell people to be very, very cautious. with any kind of communications or attempted communications with the unseen world, because you just don't know what you're going to get into contact with. I mean, you can go and surround yourself with all the white light in the world, but if you're stupid, and I tell people, you wouldn't just pick up your telephone and dial a random number and expect to get a hold of an advanced enlightened being on the other end. And it's the same way when you attempt communications like this. So I use the story sometimes as an example of what can happen when you get too deeply involved in these types of situations. So just say no, folks.
I agree.
That gave me
Most
some
Yeah.
goosebumps. That
most
gave me
people
some
don't know
goosebumps.
enough to bless the space that they're in and spiritually protect it, as well as blessing and purifying that board. And they shouldn't be using it anyway. An open channel, and it's like you said, it's like you're dialing blindly. You don't know what you're going to get. And the whole thing about The Exorcist, the boy that was the real story, said to the spirit that he was talking to on the Ouija board, is it okay for me to have you come into me? And thereby hangs the tale. We know what happened. And you should never, when I was a kid, people were because of The Exorcist, all those stupid fads in the 70s. Oh yeah, let's go get a Ouija board. And they didn't take the precautions and they didn't understand. And a lot of people got hurt. It's not a toy, folks. It's a spirit board. It's like the old saying in Star Trek, open a hailing channel, hailing frequency, and that's what you're doing. You're sending that beacon onto that board, and you don't know who and or what you're dealing with.
It's almost
And
like a
most of my
Pandora box.
in most of my cases were people fooling around with Ouija boards, and of course too they would give me the Ouija boards. I would get rid of the Ouija boards in a proper way. Yeah, it's
Did you
terrible.
burn them, Paul?
No, no, absolutely not. I actually buried a few in hollowed ground in the cemetery. Other ones were actually thrown into the Sacramento River after they were blessed. And the positive energy of that water does the cleansing. Okay, well, let's go for our next one. Thanks, Tim. You gave me some goosebumps. So, yeah. Okay, we will go to Sue. I hope she set up those virtual tents.
I set up the tents.
You did? Okay, good
Yeah.
job. Good job.
And pounding in the stakes, though, yeah, that gives you a good callus on the fingers.
We might need the stakes for something else as
Now,
well.
just a minute.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine just taking the stakes out just because you had needed for the other happenings? It tends to stay away. But we got the other entities instead.
All right. And Sue, what is your scary story that happened to you or someone else?
You know what? I actually had, when I was at my parents' house, we have a mirror in the upstairs bathroom. We have the old bathroom that they had that was made in the 40s. Those style bathrooms where there's little tiny individual tiles that they're all ceramic-y, but these little square tiles and they're all over. It's all over the walls, all over the floors, it's all over the tub, it's that style. And it was I remember going into that bathroom, and every now and again I would there was a mirror over the sink. It was a very old-fashioned type of mirror. It was on the wall, and it wasn't the medicine cabinet type. It was those types that it's almost vanity like. And I remember there are times at night um my sister would tease me and she would turn the light off. And it was weird because I could see the silhouette, because when I moved out of the way, there was a little bit of lighting from the hall, but when I moved out of the way, the silhouette of me, that I assumed that was me that was there, would still be there. You would think that the silhouette would move with. And it was so weird, and I didn't know where that came from. I did all kinds of experiments now and again to figure out where that was coming from, because normally, even if there was a silhouette of you in the mirror, it should move with. And it didn't. There were times that it did, and there was times that it didn't. And that was creepy. And I would have happenings like that. And so one day I decided to, I guess, mess around to see what would happen. And I brought a candle into the bathroom, and I lit this candle so my face was all glowing and everything. And I would step aside, and I was still there right in the middle of the mirror.
Wow.
It's just like my image stayed there before it shifted along with where I'm supposed to be. And back then I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't understand what that was all about, but I was very creeped out. And so one day that image of me actually shook the head no when I did a candle. I lit a candle again, and I just kind of made circles with the candle, motions, like you do with those little sparklers. I was messing around to see what was going on, and this image in the mirror of me went, no. And it's like, no, what? No. That was it. That's all I got. I'm not very good with cryptic messages. And so I did put a stop to that, but there was another mirror in the downstairs bathroom. We had a half bath. And so I went downstairs one time to that mirror, and the outfit that I was wearing that evening when I did the mirror and the candle, when I went downstairs after going to the bathroom, I looked in that mirror, it was the same image of me, but wearing the same outfit as yesterday, and I was wearing a different outfit that day.
Wow.
So it was some sort of entity.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was absolutely creepy. I don't know what that was all about, but I did find out many years later, because I did see a Ouija board in like the back porch. They had an enclosed porch, and they had sort of a junk box, if you will. And I questioned my mother about it, and she said, oh, it came with the house, like it was no big deal. I asked her if she's ever used it, and she said no, she's never used it. They just sort of just kind of put it aside, I guess. So I just found out recently they still have that board. I've told her many times to get rid of it, and she refused to get rid of it. I don't know why. But we had weird happenings like that in the house. There's always just stuff going on in that house that's unexplainable.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, that's my creepy story.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
what is it about mirrors? Yeah, I mean, there seems to be almost like this universal belief that there's just something not quite right with mirrors.
I
Been
don't
going
like
on
the
since
elevators.
ancient
I don't
Greece.
like the elevators that's got the mirrors on, the all the way around, like the back and the sides. It does that tunnel infinity look and stuff. It bothers me. Yeah. Michael, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say it's been going on since ancient times. The Romans and the Greeks and the Egyptians used to make mirrors out of beaten pieces of silver. And silver is very magical, as we know. So that holds energy. And what even the Africans believe in different tribes, mostly the Western, that a mirror can hold a part of your soul. And I think that's what happened to you. That it took some of your energy, your life force energy. And she didn't look to see what you were wearing the next day.
Oh, wow.
So she only had the energy for that moment in time.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and Michael, didn't the Egyptians also too have a type of mirror that was kind of black in color?
I still use one. It's called the Mirror of Realizations. It's a black mirror. I It's too complicated for me to pick it up, but I have one in my altar space, which is about 200 feet from where I am right now. But
Is that
yes,
like
it's used for scry. It's a scrying mirror.
spraying? Okay.
Hercules and Steve know about those too. Nostradamus used one as well to look
Oh,
into a pot of water or a black mirror, and you can see what's going on. As I said, I use them for scrying in my work. I do have one I'm going to show you that I can. Give me just a split second.
okay. All
Yeah,
right.
but ever since then I have sort of have, I guess, sort of a mirror phobia, if you will.
Oh,
But I don't have the kind where I feel the mirrors need to be covered or something. But I don't intentionally like have one in the bedroom and things like that, like people do.
well, I don't want to scare you, Sue. This is called a Hathor mirror. The goddess Hathor is on it. Can you see that?
Flickering.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
keeps winking out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we
The
can see
face,
there. There it
it's a
is.
double-faced mirror. You've got, on the other side is a god who is the god of time. But this mirror I use to send negative energy back where it comes from. And it reflects the energy of positive energy on the one side and sends the negative energy back where it came from. So this is a mirror that protects people from harm. So mirrors can have both sides, both negative and positive. I tell people if they're going to use, if they're being under psychic attack, to get a double-sided mirror. The ancients would scratch the one side that was facing the window so that would bounce back, and that their own energy would be inside the mirror to protect the house, the home, using their own psychic abilities. And it's a very ancient ritual, but it works very well.
I learned to actually lock mirrors now. So
You can
I've
have
been
this
having,
one.
yeah. So I haven't had any bad luck in this house anyway.
You've got a pretty girl in the mirror. You know, you and your daughter are both very pretty. So
Yeah.
that's gonna send positive energy right then and there.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to save you for last. We're going to go Steve Ward. Steve
And
Ward.
Vanessa Williams.
Uh, Very briefly, there's a great short story by Robert Arthur. It's something like The Mirror of Castellano or whatever. It was made
Mm-hmm.
into an episode on Thriller, hosted
Mm-hmm.
by Karloff, Boris Karloff, and it is really creepy. It starts out where you find a woman that's been gone a long time is a prisoner in that mirror. Anyway, worth checking out. I have two stories. One kind of a shorter one that I'm going to tell. If there's time for the longer one, we'll do that later or another show. Um, I was with the guys from Wild and Weird West Virginia, Ron Lanham and Joe Perdue, and we were out in the what they call the Chief Cornstalk Hunting Grounds, which is south of Point Pleasant. John Keel mentions it several times in the Mothman Prophecies, and there's a scene in the Mothman Prophecies where he's out in the forest. There's some kids that have lit a bonfire, and there's these strange purple lights, purple blobs that are dancing around in the tree, and they were kind of attracted by Keel's flashlight. He told the kids to put the light out, the fires out, and these things actually came down and circled him. Well, we went to they're pretty sure they found that area. There's an area out there where it actually has these circular fire pits. So it's probably the same area that John Keel was at over half a century ago. So they were out there. They have a lot of gear. They're very scientific in their approach. And to make a longer story short, I can't tell you the type of equipment they had because I don't remember. But we were watching unidentified flying objects. I had a tablet, and I was watching this thing for some time. We saw two of them. One was so on site was picked up by the technology. But what I saw was this round circular object, kind of small. It had that black sort of aura. It looked very much like the uh, TikTok videos and those videos released recently from the military. And we were watching for quite some time. And it was just bizarre because I've never seen much in the way of unconventional flying objects, and in all the time I've been interested in this. So here we were at the Chief Cornstalk hunting grounds, the same place John Keel was, observing unusual phenomena using technology, and they recorded it on video. So that was a pretty cool experience. I have another one, but I'm going to shelve that till later. So go ahead, Paul.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve. And Michael Waterman, what is your story?
Okay, well, actually, it took place in 1972 tonight, August 1st. I was what we call a neophyte, which is a new member of a particular coven. Ours was called the Circle of Those Who Know. It was my family coven. I'm a hereditary witch, meaning that my ancestors go back for centuries. Well, my guardian, my teacher, human teacher, took me on a what he called a quest. We went out into a woods area near our home, and he said there were two spirit guides that were cats. One was called Gemini, and the other one was Epsilon. And we watched these two cats. They were translucent. They were real, but they weren't real. They were, like Hercules says, they were ghost cats. And we were walking, and my teacher's name was Daniel. Daniel had glasses on. He was quite a bit, 3 years or 4 years older than me. And all of a sudden, I heard one of the cats scream, scream, and it was gone. And then all of a sudden, it was like Night of the Living Dead or some other zombie movie, gray kind of looking, sort of human, but not really human hands were coming up out of the ground. And they started to pull him into a pit. And I'm pulling and they're pulling, and his legs were going down into this pit that was in the woods. And I called out for my goddess, for Isis. And all of a sudden a white light came down, and I said, Isis, help me. I can't do this on my own. I don't know how yet. And his glasses fell off and they broke. And I finally pulled him out of the hole, and the hands went down back into the ground, and that whatever was in the ground stopped. It was real, but it wasn't real. It was the most frightening thing because these energies, we looked them up later, they're called cambions. They're half human and half spirit. And I warn people to make sure you have something light with you, light energy or a candle or a flashlight, whatever, whenever you're in some kind of an area like that. Number one, it's very dangerous with snakes and other little animals running around, and big animals too, like bears. But number two, this place was known to be haunted. It was a woods. We called it Hecate's Woods, Hecate, the Greek goddess of magic. And it was her woods. It was dedicated by all the witches in my neighborhood. And there were many, many witches in my neighborhood that blessed this place. And we practiced magic there. There was a tree stump, a huge tree stump, which we used as an altar. And we were going toward that tree stump to practice the ritual for Lugnasad, Lamastide, which is tonight. He had a chalice and wine. We were waiting. There was a high priestess. She's passed away now, but she was out at the end of the woods. But we had to pass through this pit to get there. And I'd walked through it 100 times with my dog. Not, forgive me, nothing like that ever happened. I was petrified because it wasn't. I was thinking, oh, this can't be real. He's got to hire somebody or whatever. But when they went down into the ground like that, there was no hole. It was just the spirit. I guess they were half spirit and half physical, and they were able to grab him. But because I had white energy around me, they couldn't touch me. And he, from then on, would never do anything without me being with him. He said to me that they called you Michael for a reason, Michael. And I believe it. I was named, I'm the only Michael in 1,200 years in my family. And I'm named for the archangel. So I believe his energy and my goddess, my mother goddess, Isis, joined together to help me.
Thank you.
And that was scary. It's
Wow.
really, really scary.
Thank you, Michael. Well, I guess I have time to tell my story, huh?
Yep.
All right. Okay, well, actually, I have three stories. So let's see how fast I can tell these stories. Um, we had a situation where this house was supposedly haunted. The house was built over a Japanese internment camp. And all kinds of bad things happened at a Japanese internment camp, of course. Um, the couple that lived in this house, I kept on seeing a ghostly couple on the stairwell. So they told me I was welcome to have a scouting mission, and scouts are paranormal investigators in training. And I had 15 scouts that volunteered to investigate this house. So we were all over the place and everything, and not too much was happening. And then the lady of the house, she told me the three bedrooms is the most activity. So I had five in one bedroom, five in another bedroom, and five in another bedroom, all 15. I went to the first bedroom, and the five investigators were practically asleep because nothing was happening. I went to the second bedroom. Again, they're falling asleep, they're bored. And then I went into the last bedroom, and to my amazement, I hear a little girl giggling. Mind you, there's only men in this room, five men, and well, six men, including myself. And I said, "Oh my God, can you hear it? There's a little girl giggling." And they said, "Yeah, we're recording it." And I said, "She's sitting on the corner of this bed. I can't see her, but she's right there. That's where the sound is coming from." So I put my head down and I go, "Hello." And she goes, "Hello." I go, "Holy," I can't say the word. I go, "Oh my God." I said, "Did you?" She said hello to me. I said, "Okay, let's get everybody in this room." So I got everybody in this room, and I said, "Let's just conduct a seance." So we had three walkie talkies on the ground, and they're all on the same channel. And we're doing this seance, and all of a sudden, the walls sounded like they were ripping apart. It sounded like something out of that movie Hellraiser, where the Cenobites are coming through the walls. And when that happened, all 15 investigators, mind you, these are paranormal investigators in training.
Mm-hmm.
They're running out the front door. I go, "Oh my God, get back in here. This is a breakthrough. I mean, this is just phenomenal."
Did they say, dude, run?
So we go back to the seance, and all of a sudden, one of the walkie talkies turns on, and is a man's voice, and it says, "Get out." And again, all 15 are running out the front door.
You could blame them.
Yeah, yeah. And then the lady of the house, she looks at me and she goes, "Paul," she goes, "I have to live here." She goes, "Can you just send him home?" I go, "Yes, I can send him home." And I said, "Thank you very much." And she goes, "You know what? You're welcome to stay in that room." I go, "Really? Okay, cool." So I send everybody home. Out of those 15 people, only two become full-fledged paranormal investigators. So I stay in the room, and they had a video camera rolling. And on that video camera, you can hear a woman's voice say, "Paul, Paul, Paul." And then you hear a man's voice mumbling. And at the foot of the bed, you can hear a child moaning. And on the headboard, there's a little tap, da, 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 da. And I slept through the whole thing. And then I said, "Okay, I asked if I can go ahead and borrow that video, and all of a sudden they became possessive of the video. They go, no, no, no. They thought they were going to get $1 million for the video, but that was my scare. That was my scariest ghost hunt. And out of 2,500 investigations that I've been on, I never could ever find a ghost hunt like that again. I mean, where things were actually happening. I will never forget that little girl, hello, and it blew me away. I do we have time for the yeah, we do have another time. Okay, this story, I think. Oh, in fact, this story is in our book, "The Persistence of Ghosts," and I'll tell the story again. But anyway, with the persistence of ghosts, okay, I'm driving around Stockton, the town of Stockton, and I get this phone call, and that's when the paranormal hotline. I had people calling me up the yin yang. This place is haunted. This place is haunted. I was just getting all kinds of phone calls. But anyway, I get this phone call, and I'm driving around Stockton, and this lady says, "Paul," she goes, "I need someone to come over to my house and bless it. We're being attacked by demons." And I said, "Where are you located at?" And she says, "The town, which is near Stockton." So I said, "I'm really close. I could probably go over there now." And she goes, "Would you?" I go, "Yeah." So I head over there, and this lady, she looks like a grandmother, really nice, kind. She actually raises parrots, and she lives with her goddaughter who's in her 30s. And she says, "Yeah, we get attacked." Okay, mind you, I was a new paranormal investigator. One thing I learned, you always bring somebody with you. Never, never go by yourself. Well, I went by myself, dummy me, and thinking nothing bad's going to happen. So we get over there, and I'm doing an interview with her. I got my laptop, and I'm doing this interview. And she said, "Yeah," she goes, "the demons, they look like a black mass, and they appear in the hallway. They attack us, both of us. And we got bite marks to prove it." Well, they had bite marks on their neck, on their shoulder. And I was thinking in my head, did they give each other those bite marks? Did this really happen by a demon, or did they do that to each other?
Now that'd be a good video.
It might not be rated G though.
So anyway, so they showed me the bite marks and all this sort of stuff, and they said around about 2 or 3, this black mass is going to show up. You're going to see it. You're going to be able to record it. I said, "Okay, well, cool." As I was interviewing her, and I swear on a stack of Bibles, her face started distorting. I go, "Am I imagining this?" Her face started looking evil. And I said, "You're talking about visions." I said, "What kind of visions do you have?" She goes, "I have visions of killing men."
Oh,
Mind you, I'm the only man in that house, and with 2 women. And I said, "How do you kill these? How did you kill these men?" And she goes, "I see myself using a baseball bat and bashing their brains out." I go, "Oh my God, I need to get out of here." So, I said, this interview is really good. I'm going to come back, but I need to get this over to my producer. He's going to really want this story. She goes, "Are you sure you're going to come back?" I said, "Yeah." And then I looked towards the living room, and her goddaughter is now holding a baseball bat. and is twirling around and around with this maniacal look on her face. And I go, holy crap. I said, I got to go now. So I get outside, and that her goddaughter is holding that baseball bat. I could have been a victim. I got the F out of there. I was so scared, I even left my cell phone there. And later on, I find out the woman was actually arrested for assault. And that assault could have been me. And that was my scariest demonic case. And I
Glad
actually,
you.
oh, yeah.
I'm just glad you made it to home base.
Yeah.
That sounds, Paul. It sounds like they actually accepted the the demonic energies into themselves willingly.
Yes.
Ken is
Yes.
shaking his head, and I feel that too. That they don't like men, and that was they were using the demon more or less as a guard dog,
Yeah.
and also a weapon.
Yeah. If I had stayed there any longer, something bad would have happened to me. And I learned from right that experience. Always, I love your cat. Always bring another investigator with you. You know,
Make
And
sure
you
you
were
have a guard.
thinking, I should have been a cost accountant.
Maybe you should have had a guard. You need
Maybe
a
I'll
guard.
take up Scrabble.
You need a
Oh
guard
God.
cat to protect you.
Jeez.
yeah.
I always have my orange guard cat.
Hercules, do we have uh, time for one more story?
9 minutes.
Okay. Oh, the campfire is almost going out. The fire's almost going out. So, real quick. Okay, we had an investigation in San Francisco, and we get there, and it's at this apartment. It smelled another demonic case. The two ladies that lived there were very obese. And as I walked into the apartment, I placed my holy water up on the kitchen cabinet, and cockroaches started going towards the holy water. They were thirsty. The whole apartment, I looked around, is infested with cockroaches.
Oh
All,
God.
all, my, all my investigators go outside. They don't want to go inside. They said, Paul, we're not investigating this place. The place is disgusting. There's cockroaches everywhere. And one of the ladies said, also, too, these two obese women, they have posters on the walls, and the posters are of them. They were burlesque dancers. And they said, Paul, uh, some men like big women. And I go, oh my God, these women look like they're like 300 pounds. And they also too were cat hoarders. They had cats all around the apartment, and there was 3 dead cats in the hallway.
Oh.
One of the investigators was pissed off when she saw that. She goes, Paul, I don't know if you were paying attention, but there's 3 cats in the hallway. That's why the smell was in the apartment. She goes, I'm turning them in. And she contacted SPCA and actually turned them in. I didn't bless the house or anything. I just wanted to get out of there. And I was too scared to put my equipment down that's in a suitcase because I felt the cockroaches would hitchhike in my suitcase.
Yes, they will. And I bet they had bed bugs too.
Yeah, yes. So, so I got the hell out of there. That was one of my most scariest demonic cases. My life was threatened by cockroaches and dead cats.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if the other story, the second story that you told, was maybe that house was also infested with like a succubus type of demons or something.
It just sounds like
Yeah,
the first
females.
story. Yeah, I agree. They might have been.
Yeah,
But
But
those
they
women,
bite. They bite. Some of those female demons bite.
but those women really they let that energy in there because they enjoyed it, and that's not good. They were inviting the negative energy into themselves because they felt protected by the demons.
I'm not going to watch a baseball game the same way again.
Well, how much time we got there, Hercules?
You got 6 minutes.
Oh, 6 minutes. Okay. Well, does everybody, Steve, how can people reach you?
Facebook, Steve Ward. Type in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. You'll probably find me. You can see me on Saturdays at the Mothman Museum in downtown Point Pleasant. And that's the best way to get me. And come and see us at the Mothman Festival. I think it's the 19th and 20th this year in September. It's always the third weekend in September. And it is an absolute blast.
Thank you, Steve. Tim, how can people reach you?
Sure. Well, you can find me. My website is up and running thanks to my wonderful wife, who is she's works in IT, but has also been recently trying to familiarize herself with AI. So she has built me a website, and you can find that at timrswartz.com. And you can also, if you're interested in our books, the most recent being The Persistence of Ghosts, which we have talked about tonight, you can find that the easiest way would be to go to Amazon.com, type in that name, The Persistence of Ghosts, or you could type in my name or Paul's name or Michael Waterman, Hercules. Yep. They all have chapters, in this book, and it should pop right up for your reading pleasure. And you can get it both as a print, an ebook, and now an audiobook as well. So there's no excuse. You can find, however way you like to consume your media.
Thank you, Tim. Michael Waterman, how can people reach you?
Very simple. First, Facebook, Michael K. Waterman. You can also get me at Phone a Wizard, which is my service on Facebook, because I am the Wizard of Phone a Wizard. So, and you can get me at Sedna Come West, Sedna _ Come West on TikTok. I don't use that much. You're better off on Facebook. You can get me at Michael K at todayswitch.net. I am one of their staff writers. I think working with Tim helped me a great deal to do that. And you can also email me, mkwaterman at icloud.com, or call me 516-650-3691 to set up an appointment to work with me.
Thank you, Michael. Sue, how can people reach you?
You can get a hold of me on Facebook. That's the easiest. On Messenger, you can leave me a message if you want to make an appointment, if you want to have somebody talk to you. I actually am the night shift, so I do a lot of the meditation in the night shift. Usually my hours start anywhere between around 5 p.m. all the way till 4 in the morning. So anybody can contact me at any of those hours. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. You will not get in trouble for calling me at the crazy hours at night or the wee early in the morning. Then you can also contact me on the Instagram chat, and you can contact me on Twitter. I'm on those platforms. And if you want to email me and also make an appointment there if you want, at SueLightworker@gmail.com. And my name is spelled SOO, so yeah.
Thank you, Sue. And excuse me, you're probably wondering why I got this fly swatter. I got to get those cockroaches.
You're gonna need a bigger fly swatter.
So the next video, we're gonna need Raid.
maybe exposure suits.
Oh my gosh.
Or a roach motel or two.
Maybe if you're drinking, maybe drinking too much beer is not a good idea with cockroaches, because then you'll think you've seen way more than you really are.
I'm not blowing up the air mattresses because they might be in there. Ugh.
Hercules, how can people reach you?
Facebook, Hercules Invictus, or on YouTube. I have a channel which we're currently on. I have authors pages on Amazon and on Goodreads, and I'm pretty visible. So if you're in northern New Jersey, I'm doing something somewhere in the neighborhood, most likely.
Okay. Thank you so much, Hercules. And also, too, we're talking about Hercules Invictus Productions. We have the next time we have a show, we have La Morete Paranormal that we're interviewing on August 10th. And August 17th, we're interviewing Maria Martinez, and her whole family is shamans. So that should be interesting. And August 19th, we have Paul's Pop Culture. And then August 28th, All Things Paranormal. And we got the rabbi again. So if you guys want to be involved, make sure you message me and let me know.
Awesome. Thank you very much for another excellent and insightful show with lots of information. It's great to see everybody. I wish you all well, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, Hercules. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Blessed Lammas Tide, everybody. Take care.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.